Over the past year, I've become fascinated with looking at the little aspects that make the Mario franchise so fantastic, with my favorite topic being enemies. I've had fun making videos about the toughest, weirdest, and now the deadliest enemies in every Mario game. In this one, I'm going to focus on enemies from the franchise that can kill Mario with one shot. If a particular game doesn't have an enemy like that, or there's just one I think that's worth mentioning, I'll still highlight them in the video and explain why I think they're so deadly. Oh yeah, and by the way, my name is Copycat, and I'm so close to 100,000 subscribers, so if you could please hit that subscribe button and that bell, it would mean a lot to me. The very first game in the franchise, Super Mario Bros. For the NES, doesn't have any enemies that can make Mario lose a life in one hit, but it does have a few that are extremely annoying to come across. One of these, of course, is the Hammer Bros, which can easily damage you as they usually show up in pairs and jump between platforms, making the hammers harder to dodge. During the underwater sections, the bloopers are always difficult to pass as they move unpredictably, so you have to be extra careful. Finally, the enemy I've probably died the most to in this game are the fire bars that are only found during the Bowser levels. I've lost many a power-up trying to navigate through a maze of these, but it's definitely helped me learn that patience is key. Super Mario Bros. 2 is the next game in the franchise and only has one enemy that can one-shot you, albeit indirectly, in the Albatross. That's because there's sections in this game where you have to platform on these birds while they're flying, and if you fall off or get pushed off by one, you'll die. The only other enemy from this game that I could put in this video are the Sniffets and Shy Guys, as they always act unpredictably, especially during the digging sections where I somehow always take damage from them. I guess I could add the Panzer Flower as it shoots several fireballs at you, but we'll see another similar annoying flower show up soon in this video. Super Mario Bros. 3 was the first game in the series to feature an enemy that could instantly cause Mario to lose a life. That enemy is the giant sheep, Boss Bass, that only shows up in World 3 of this game. If Mario gets too close to this fish, whether inside the water or out, it will jump up and try to swallow you whole, making you lose a life. This is an instant death no matter what form Mario's in. Super Mario Land, released on the Game Boy in 1989, doesn't contain any particularly deadly enemies, but does have a few that can cause you damage in more way than one. The first of these is the Bombshell Koopa, which actually killed me the very first time I came across it, as honestly I never thought it was going to explode. Apparently Nintendo had trouble programming the usual Koopa shell's ricochet effect, and instead opted for a simpler approach. The only other enemy I really want to mention is the Urarin Boo, which can be found throughout the World 2's Muda Kingdom. This seahorse-looking thing jumps out of gaps in the ground, shooting fireballs towards Mario at a pretty fast speed. In fairness, the bosses are really the deadliest enemies in this game, but we'll save that for another video. In Super Mario World, which was released for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, there's only one enemy that can indirectly kill you with one shot, and that's the Magic Koopa. This can only happen in levels where you have to platform on rotating blocks, with the Magic Koopa's spell turning them into a Koopa, causing you to fall to your death. There are a few other enemies that can easily deal damage to you, like the very strange Fire Pea Pukin plant, which can jump out of pipes shooting fireballs. This enemy can mainly be found in the Special Zone, most specifically the incredibly hard Outrageous level. The only other enemy worth mentioning is the Volcano Locust, which can be found in various levels throughout the game and is extremely annoying as it launches 4 small fireballs into the air, which slowly rain down around it. If you don't have a power-up or Yoshi to defeat it, it can definitely be a pain. The second game in the Game Boy series, Super Mario Land 2, also doesn't contain an extremely deadly enemy, but there are still a few that will give you trouble. One that always seems to deal damage to me is the Jack-in-the-Box, which can be found in this game's Mario Zone. This enemy resides in question mark boxes, jumping around unpredictably when activated. The Fire Pakun Zo is another enemy I've had trouble with, as they shoot much larger fireballs in your direction that at times can be difficult to dodge. Even though there are several unique and out-of-place enemies in this game, none of them really pose a huge threat to Mario's well-being. Super Mario 64, the first 3D game in the series, was released on the N64 and has 3 enemies that can easily cause Mario to die either directly or indirectly. The Bubbas is one that instantly comes to mind as it acts very similarly to Super Mario Bros. 3 Boss Bass, as it tries to lunge towards you with an open mouth, swallowing you whole if you get caught. This deadly enemy only shows up in 2 specific spots of Tawny Huge Island, but is extremely memorable for how scary it is. An enemy that can kill you indirectly with its ability is the Chuckya, that can be found in a few courses, but the most dangerous one is found on Tall Mountain. Although it does have to be at the perfect angle, this enemy can throw Mario off the edge of the course if it's able to get a hold of you. I only ever remember dying this way about 1 time, but it definitely is still possible. The final enemy that, believe it or not, has actually killed me several times during my playthrough is the Weird Ball Karanpa enemies, specifically the one in Shifting Sandlands. This strange black ball shoots fire towards you, setting Mario ablaze, causing him to run uncontrollably until it's put out. This is a pain especially when you're trying to scale the pyramid using the very thin platforms on its side. Many times I'd be set on fire by this enemy, causing me to fall into the quicksand, making me lose a life. This game to this day feels way ahead of its time and contained very interesting enemies, which is what made it so great. Nintendo GameCube's Super Mario Sunshine didn't really have any enemies with abilities that could cause you to immediately lose a life, but it did have one section in the Pianta Village level where I did die several times due to them being in the way. This was during the Goopy Inferno episode, as you have to traverse underneath the village, using the hanging paths where you can easily get knocked off by the Clammers or Electrokoopas, sending you to your death. This game really does rely on platforming and puzzle solving more than fighting enemies, but I don't think that's a terrible thing and is actually one of my favorites in the series. New Super Mario Bros. For the Nintendo DS was the next handheld game in the series and contains an enemy very similar to the Boss Bass and Bubbas, but this time with a different name. That's the Cheap Chomp, which only appears in this game's World 3-1, once again trying to eat Mario in one gulp. The only other enemy that's worth mentioning is the Mega Unagi, which chases Mario through the majority of World 8-3. This enemy takes up almost half the screen and is invincible, so you'll have to do your best to avoid taking any damage. Super Mario Galaxy for the Nintendo Wii is a very interesting game, as it adds a few enemies that are able to quickly defeat Mario. Both the Thwomps and Tox Boxes now squish you to death if you get caught underneath them in any way, shape, or form. This is a deviation from previous entries where they would only damage Mario slightly. Black holes are the other type of enemy, well, technically, that can instantly kill Mario. This happens if you fall off platforms in an area where there's no planet to land on. I'm not sure why the rules for some of these enemies all of a sudden changed, but it certainly made parts of this game much more difficult. New Super Mario Bros. Wii, the sequel to the original on the DS, also features the deadly Cheap Chomp that acts the exact same across all the versions. That being said, the only other enemy I would pick from this game is the King Bill that appears in 2 levels of World 9. It's its World 9-8 appearance where it's at its most dangerous, as the giant bill takes up a large portion of the screen. To avoid it, you have to traverse some very thin platforms, dodging several other baddies along the way. Super Mario Galaxy 2 has the same deadly enemies from the first game, but adds a few others into the mix. One of these is the Womps, who can body slam Mario, killing him instantly. There's also the Romps, which are a brand new enemy in this sequel, that are cylinder-shaped and are found in the sand slide portion of Slip Sand Galaxy. If they're somehow able to roll you over, they'll flatten Mario, causing him to lose a life. The only other enemy that can cause Mario instant death is the Mattermouth, as it eats away at the ground in front of you, causing it to disappear. This can easily be avoided, but it's still annoying if you fall through and die. Super Mario 3D Land is a very different game in the franchise, as it perfectly incorporated classic 2D Mario platforming in a 3D environment. However, the enemies in this game are much more simplistic, and there aren't really any that can technically kill Mario instantly. There are, however, the Grinders, that are saw blades that can cut away at the platform he's standing on, which will make him lose a life. This game was meant to be a bit more simplistic, returning Mario to its roots and what made the original game so fun. New Super Mario Bros. 2 for the 3DS also features the Cheap Chomp enemy, but no others that can instantly delete Mario. If I did have to pick one from the list, then I'd probably go with the Bone Piranha Plant that are immune to fireballs, specifically the bigger ones found in certain castles and fortresses as they thrash themselves towards Mario, dealing damage. To be honest, this game really isn't hard at all and consistently holds your hand, feeding you power-ups, making everything much easier. In New Super Mario Bros. U and in New Super Mario Luigi U, there are 3 enemies that can instantly defeat any character in the game, including the almost invincible Nabbit. The first of these is of course the Cheap Chomp, that once again appears throughout this game's underwater levels. The second and third are the lava creatures, Magmars and Magmas, that can also one-shot Mario, only appearing in a few levels in this game. I enjoyed New Super Mario Bros. U, and it didn't hold your hand like other games in the franchise, and this is reflected in the collection of tougher enemies. A spiritual sequel to Super Mario 3D Land, Super Mario 3D World greatly expands on the ideas of that 3DS game, creating a much larger, fuller title on the Wii U. This game has 3 enemies that are extremely deadly, starting with the ominous Fuzzy Horde. This enormous group of ravenous fuzzies only appear in 2 levels in this game, increasingly growing in size, acting as a sort of force scroll for Mario. If you touch them at all, then you'll have to restart the level as you'll instantly die. Another enemy that can directly kill you is the Charvar, which is similar to the New Super Mario Bros. U counterparts, but this time it jumps over a part of the platform, blocking it for a short time. The very last enemy that can technically kill you with its ability is the Typhoos, that will blow strong gusts of wind trying to push Mario off the stage. You have to wait till they run out of air to pass them, or else you'll fall off the stage to your death. The weird thing about Super Mario Odyssey is that Nintendo decided to remove lives altogether, and instead, you lose some coins from your total every time Mario dies. That being said, if I did have to pick one enemy from this game to showcase, then I'd have to go with the UFO. This flying saucer-like enemy drops an indefinite amount of Goombas and spike balls below it, covering the area in them. The only way to defeat it is to capture the Goomba, creating a tower until you're tall enough to reach the top. However, you do need to be careful, as on the UFO there are spike bars that continuously spin around it, trying to damage you. On top of all that, you have to hit it twice to defeat it, usually giving you a life up heart as a reward. Alright, that's going to be it for today's video, guys. I really hope you did enjoy this one. If you did, please leave a like, comment below any future ideas you might have for me, and of course subscribe to my channel. Also, I do have an Instagram at Copycat Gamers, so go give that a follow. There I upload some cool clips and items from my collection that you won't see anywhere else. Hope you guys all have a good day, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!